We're just 2 weeks into camp, and the energy is off the charts. With the preseason right around the corner, it's time to break down what really matters. Who's shining and who's slipping. Some players are rising fast, while others are falling behind or not showing up at all. Yeah, you know who we're talking about. So let's get into the real storylines, the winners and losers of Bengals training camp so far. No fluff, no distractions, just pure football. But before we dive into the action, if you're a true Bengals fan and never want to miss a beat, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and tap the bell icon so you're always first in line when the latest Bengals news drops. Let's grow the jungle together. Now, let's talk camp stars. First up, Andre Iosivas, or as the team calls him, Yoshi. He's been an absolute standout, while everyone's eyes are naturally on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and of course, Joe Burrow. Don't sleep on Yoshi. Even Burrow himself recently said, "Everyone knows I'll throw it to 1 and 5. But Yoshi, if he keeps developing like this, watch out." Last year, he made flashes in the slot. This year, he's pushing for a real role in the offense. Let's talk about Andre Iosivas, because this guy isn't just flashing. He's earning real trust from Joe Burrow. There have been moments in camp where Yoshi's running the scene, takes a hit, and still hauls it in. No flinch, no hesitation. He's become one of Burrow's go-to red zone options, and that's not by accident. Burrow even praised his improvement in contested catches, a major leap in his game. Now remember, Yoshi came into the league with a track background, not a football one. Ivy League product, limited snaps in college. The Bengals took a shot, and it's starting to look like a serious payoff. Heading into his third year, Yoshi is no longer just a developmental piece. He's becoming a legitimate WR3 threat behind Chase and Higgins. With that trio on the field, defenses will have to pick their poison. Now switching to the other side of the ball. TJ Slatton is starting to turn heads in Cincinnati, and for good reason. He may not have stuffed the stat sheet in Green Bay, but he brings sheer power up the middle. Working again with defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery, Slatton is showing signs of becoming a force in the trenches. He's not just a run stopper. He's flashing potential as a pass disruptor from the inside. And it's not just about what he does personally. Slatton could be the anchor that helps unlock younger interior guys like McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins Jr. This defensive line has the raw talent. It just needs leadership, and Slatton might be that guy. Joe Burrow even mentioned him recently, highlighting Slatton's size, toughness, and underrated football IQ. Let's be real. The Bengals missed badly trying to replace DJ Reader last year. Sheldon Rankins didn't pan out, and that's been acknowledged. But now, Slatton might be that answer. No hype, just physical, gritty football. So far in camp, Yoshi and Slatton are two names that shouldn't surprise you come week 1, but they just might surprise a few opponents. Let's talk about one of the most surprising stories of Bengals camp so far, Germaine Burton. Last year, his rookie season was, frankly, a mess. On and off the field, nothing seemed to click. A lot of teams might have pulled the plug after a debut like that. But the Bengals? They chose a different route. With tough love from Zach Taylor and Duke Tobin, they gave Burton a second chance. And now, it looks like he's finally responding. There's a different vibe around him this year. You can hear it in his interviews. Less ego, more focus. He's been spending time with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, soaking in experience and learning how to carry himself like a pro. Even Joe Burrow has started speaking more positively about him, and that's not praise given lightly. Let's be clear, Burton's physical tools were never in question. He's got the toughness, he's got the route running, and he's got the edge you want in a wide receiver. But in the past, it was the emotional maturity that held him back. And now, he's starting to channel that fire in the right direction. Sure, he's still got that unique flair, like the towel tucked in look during practice. But if that's the biggest issue he brings to the table, Bengals fans should take that all day. If Burton continues trending this way, this Bengals receiver room, already loaded, could become one of the deepest and most dangerous in the league. And speaking of dangerous, Myles Murphy is quietly having himself a dominant camp. The former first-round pick is showing exactly why Cincinnati invested in him. His strength, speed, and motor are jumping out, and he's catching the attention of the one guy whose opinion matters most, Joe Burrow. Burrow recently mentioned how Murphy is starting to impact plays from the edge in a way that's hard to ignore. He's creating pressure, disrupting timing, and bringing real energy to the front line. After a rookie year where the flashes were brief, this version of Myles Murphy looks focused, faster, and more confident. Let's stay on Myles Murphy, because this season, it's make or break. The message from new defensive coordinator Al Golden has been loud and clear. It's go time. No more easing in. Murphy was drafted in the first round to be a difference maker, and this training camp, he's finally showing signs of becoming just that. He's already racked up a couple of sacks in practice, and his burst off the edge is starting to look like a real problem for opposing tackles. Even if, yes, the Bengals' offensive line still has some inconsistencies. But Murphy isn't just taking advantage. He's beating whoever is in front of him with technique and raw athleticism. If he keeps trending upward, Murphy could add exactly what this Bengals defense has been missing, a reliable complement to Trey Hendrickson off the edge. And speaking of rising defensive stars, Josh Newton might just be the steal of last year's draft. Fifth-round pick out of TCU. Underrated. Overlooked. But not anymore. Newton has been one of the most consistently impressive defenders in camp. He's getting first-team reps at corner, and he's more than holding his own. In fact, he recently picked off Joe Burrow during a 7-on-7 drill, and while Burrow downplayed the situation, even he admitted it was a sharp, instinctive play by Newton. What's standing out isn't just his ball skills, it's his mentality. Newton plays like someone who loves the game, respects his teammates, and wants to earn every single snap. He's not just fighting for a roster spot. He's quietly competing for a starting job. With so many questions still lingering in the Bengals secondary, Josh Newton's emergence could become one of the most important stories of the summer. Let's keep it real. Not every player is trending upward at Bengals camp. We've talked winners. Now it's time for some camp losers, and this one's unavoidable. Trey Hendrickson. Yes, he's back with the team, but he's still not practicing, and that absence is loud. The contract standoff is clearly ongoing, and every day Hendrickson misses reps is another reason to place him in the loser column for now. There's been some optimism. A couple weeks back, Joe Burrow spoke about Hendrickson almost as if he wasn't sure the star edge rusher would be around. Now, Burrow's tone has shifted, talking like it's just a matter of time until Hendrickson rejoins the action. That's promising. But until that contract is locked in and he's on the field, it's fair to say this holdout is a setback, both for him and for the defense. He's a critical piece, and the Bengals can't afford for this to drag out deep into August. And then there's a bit of a surprise name, Shemar Stewart. Now, don't get it twisted. Stewart is practicing and flashing his potential in spurts. But so far, his performances have been inconsistent. When you watch him, there's no doubt about the raw talent. But right now, it looks like he's struggling to keep up with the pace of camp, especially against more polished offensive linemen. He's getting caught out of position, and his timing just isn't where it needs to be yet. That doesn't mean Stewart won't turn it around. But if we're being honest, he hasn't done enough yet to cement a role or force coaches to make space for him. If anything, he's fallen slightly behind in a crowded rotation. So yes, it's still early. Preseason reps will be critical. But for now, Hendrickson and Stewart are two names you can't leave off the losers list from Bengals training camp. Let's talk about two more players who, for now, find themselves on the wrong side of Bengals training camp momentum. Shemar Stewart, still learning the ropes. Yes, he's made a couple of plays, a few pass breakups here and there, But the reality is, Stewart looks like a rookie who's playing catch-up. And according to reports, coaches have had to give him pointers after nearly every rep. That's not unusual for a first-year player. But some of those learning curves might have been flattened if Stewart had participated in mandatory off-season activities. Instead, he followed the lead of his agent and skipped out, trying to tweak language in his rookie deal. And that decision? It's costing him valuable chemistry and mental reps. The tools are there. The potential is real. But right now, Stewart is behind the pace. He's in the loser column for now, though there's reason to believe he can flip that narrative later in camp. DJ Turner 2. Trouble in year 2? Now this one is more concerning. DJ Turner entered training camp last year with expectations to become a starter opposite Cam Taylor-Britt. But after losing out in camp battles and seeing Dax Hill take the reins, Turner got limited action until injuries forced him into the lineup. He finally started finding his rhythm, then fractured his clavicle under the lights of Sunday Night Football. Fast forward to now, and Turner is struggling again. Bengals receivers are consistently winning reps against him, and that's not a trend you want to see from a former second-round pick entering year 2. Meanwhile, Josh Newton, a fifth-rounder from last season, is earning more snaps with the first team. That speaks volumes. The Bengals had high hopes for Turner when they took him out of Michigan, but as of today, he hasn't lived up to that billing. And if Newton keeps ascending, Turner could be fighting just to stay in the rotation. Let's continue with a few more names in the training camp loser category. But don't worry, we'll end on a high note with more standout performers. DJ Turner 2. Still on shaky ground. We already touched on him earlier. But let's be clear. DJ Turner 2 is going to be tested this season. He'll get called upon, maybe sooner than later. But right now, he looks out of rhythm. The Bengals are hoping that experience kicks in, and he turns the corner fast. But camp hasn't been kind to him so far. Cordell Volson. Falling behind fast. Here's one that's flying under the radar. Cordell Volson. This is a guy who started nearly every game for the Bengals over the past 2 seasons. But so far in training camp, he hasn't taken a single rep with the first team. That's telling. Instead, Cincinnati is giving left guard snaps to rookie Dylan Fairchild, and right guard reps are going to Cody Ford. Volson, meanwhile, is working with the second unit and staying there. That suggests something bigger is going on. There's real speculation that the Bengals could part ways with Volson to save cap space. He's still under contract, but if the team is serious about turning the page on the interior line, his future in Cincinnati may be in jeopardy. And honestly, it's surprising they haven't even tried him at right guard, a position that still lacks a clear long-term answer. If he's not in the mix there either, it's a clear signal from the coaching staff. He's on the outside looking in. Now, let's finish with more camp winners. And this is where things get exciting. Joe Burrow is on fire. He says this is the best he's felt during a camp, and his connection with his receivers looks razor sharp. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are playing like stars. Nothing new, just elite production. Every day, Chase Brown is showing growth and explosiveness as a key part of the run game. Demetrius Knight Jr. is turning heads as a second-rounder, physical, fast, and already earning praise from teammates and coaches alike. Jordan Battle is making his voice and his presence known. He even broke up a pass intended for Jamar Chase in 7-on-7s. That's not something just anyone can do. Amarius Mims might end up being one of the biggest steals of the draft. He's stonewalling edge rushers and showing he could be the future at left tackle once Orlando Brown Jr. His time is done. And Evan McPherson? Quietly locked in. He's nailed kick after kick. And if he returns to form, it could make a massive difference late in games this season.